Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss the emergency budget that Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng gave in Parliament today. It's widely considered to be quite insane, and the value of the pound collapsed as he was actually speaking. It's a budget for the rich that doesn't really even help the rich. It's just economic madness and political suicide. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, we've established that Liz Truss is going to be an unashamedly trickle-down economics prime minister. It's a theory that has been definitively debunked some time ago. Even Tory leaders have not publicly admitted to supporting the ideas. It's nonsense. But Truss is clearly not playing by the normal political playbook here. But if you're going to push trickle-down economics, you need to actually have some winners with the budget so that they can have something to trickle down. Part of the budget statement included a move to completely abolish the highest rate of tax. If you earn £150,000 a year or more, then you currently pay 45% on the additional income above that amount. Now, after this budget, it'll just be 40%. Now, I don't know yet how much that's going to cost in terms of tax revenues, but I'm sure some analysis will point it out soon. But you look at the measure and you say, well, this only helps the rich. Yes, it does. Less than 1% of the UK population earn £150,000 or more a year. When people talk about the 1%, that's what they mean. This is a move that's going to deprive us of tax revenues needed for public services, and over 99% of the population don't save a penny. But even most of the rich won't be saving either. I could say for the people that this is really aimed at, which is those earning millions, although I say, this threshold is £150,000 a year or more, they're not doing it for the people earning, say, 200, 250, 300,000 even a year. They're doing it for the people earning millions, not hundreds of thousands. They'll barely notice. The 5% saved on most of their income will be a large figure if you're earning millions, of course. But these are people already so rich that there's never any concern about the cost of living. It's just more money to throw on the pile. But it isn't even that. Even as the Chancellor was reading out his list of economically insane policies, the value of the pound crashed again. It crashed when Liz Truss was announced as Prime Minister. Then it crashed again when Kwarteng sacked the highly respected Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Sir Tom Scholar. Now it's crashed again as he reads out his budget statement. And this is just a mini budget. There's a bigger one coming later on. But my point is, this tax cut for the rich is a saving in pounds sterling. But if the pound is worth less against the euro and the dollar, then the cost of goods, much of which is imported, is higher. So the money you're saving is wiped out by inflation. Any budget that devalues the pound is one that creates higher inflation by definition. So the rich won't really be gaining that much. They're super rich, yeah. The normal rich, those earning like a few £100,000 a year, they're not saving anything. But the poor who don't get a tax cut at all, they're still going to pay the higher prices. This budget is being characterised as a budget for the rich. It might be more accurate to describe it as a budget for revolution. Bit of hyperbole. But it is a budget that's going to crush the already precarious living standards of, never mind just the poor, ordinary people as well, people on medium incomes. Kwarteng defended the tax cut by saying, well, Labour government never had this tax band. True enough, the last Labour government never had this upper band with a 45% tax rate. But they did have a lower band with a 10% one to help lower paid workers. The upper bracket was added by the Tories. The lower one was removed by the Tories. This is not the defence that Kwarteng thinks it is. He's basically pointing out that taxation was lower under Labour. And the reason taxation was lower under Labour was because growth was higher. They didn't skimp on public spending. They just oversaw a buoyant economy where tax revenues were high without needing a high rate of tax. This budget statement was both a political and economic disaster for any Tory MPs who fancy retaining their seats at the next election. It was a budget statement that means maybe up to 150 Tory MPs might as well start looking for another job now, quite frankly. The bonds market also fell badly. This budget, with both its massive tax cuts and huge increase in spending for the energy plan, this budget, because it's completely uncosted, we don't really know, but it's believed to be costing somewhere between, or the government's going to need to raise an extra somewhere between 130 and 200 billion pounds. Massive level of borrowing. That borrowing means the government need to sell government bonds. Well, the arse fell out the bonds market as Kwarteng delivered his budget. And don't be fooled into thinking the rally, because people say, oh yeah, but it rallied later. Yeah, it went like that, and they went, It's what's known as a dead cat bounce. When the market crashes, it always rallies a bit afterwards. But if it doesn't go back up to where it was at the start of the day, it's still a crash, isn't it? It's called a dead cat bounce because if you throw a dead cat to the deck fast enough, it'll still bounce a bit. The pound is lower in value than before Liz Truss became Prime Minister. That's a fact. And it's now lower than it was before Kwasi Kwarteng opened his mouth. And this is lower against other currencies. This has got nothing to do with global pressures. It's nothing to do with the global situation. We're comparing it with other economies. I wonder if those 150 Tory MPs have got plans to tape Kwarteng's mouth closed before we end up with parity with the US dollar. You know, the Chancellor talks about this scheme and that scheme to attract investment. But investment in the UK literally crashed while he was saying the words. It was a completely uncosted proposal to spend more and tax less. That's not the sort of fiscal behaviour that attracts investors. You know, and do you know how I've kept saying how insane politics is? As I've grown the channel, I've said it's because politics is quite insane at the moment. Brexit made it insane. Got more insane under Boris Johnson with his shaky grasp of reality. It's like Liz Truss was just clearly standing there saying, hold my beer. This is nuts, even by the standards of recent years. In a severe cost of living crisis, when we've just entered a recession, with public services in ruins, increasing inflation and knackered global economy, this is the time. This is the time the Tories have chosen to go full steam ahead on tax cuts for the rich. Pity the poor political satirists, because you couldn't make up anything to spoof this. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.